Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. So for this episode, I want to bring up a topic around customer addresses. So quite often from the feedback of our customers, they get very confused about the customer addresses with different purposes, like for invoice purpose or for delivery purpose, and what type of address is going to be printed on which business document. So for this episode, I want to clarify how to set up those addresses, what are different types, and how the system decide which address should be displayed on which business document. All right, so before we dive into the topic, please like, comment, and subscribe if you feel the content is useful. All right, so what I want to show you first, let's find a customer account. Under accounts receivable, all customers. I have set up a customer with multiple addresses for the ski house, for example. Just opening it up. All right, so within this customer, you can see currently I'm having 3 addresses, and there's a column for purpose. That's quite self-explanatory. So if that address is used for invoice purposes, then you're going to use invoice. And if that address should be used for delivery, then that purpose is delivery. So how you can change that, basically you can click edit here for whichever address you want to make changes. And then here in the purpose, you have a list of drop down of all the values. And of course, those are default values you can select for different purposes. But quite often, what we select is basically from the vendor side, that's remit to, but you can have business addresses, you can have delivery and invoice. Those are most commonly used. All right, so now having said that, depending on the purpose, the system is going to suggest different address based on this purpose value. So for example, if this address is created for delivery, then when you create a sales order, that delivery address is going to be suggested by the system by default. So it's going to be our 3rd delivery address you see here. The system is not going to show any invoice address as default value in that delivery address field. So that's how we use this purpose. I'm going to show you a scenario on a sales order just in a second, but knowing that, first we talk about this purpose, right? And then secondly, you also have this concept of primary. By default, when you create the first customer address, the system is going to consider this as primary. So this option is turned on by default on the first creation. However, you have complete flexibility to turn this off or choose another address as primary address, right? So in my case, in this example, ski house has the default primary address turned on, and that's for invoice. And then on my invoice printing, as of now, this address is going to be used. So this is the second concept about primary, which gives you a higher level of priority compared to other addresses not marked as primary. All right, so now let's close this, and I want to introduce you the 3rd option or concept called set as default. So you can find that under more options and then set defaults. So let me pick the 2nd address, for example, click on more options, and here I have the set defaults available. Basically, for each purpose of your address, you have the possibility to define a default address. And the difference between default address and primary address is default address has a higher level of priority over primary address, right? So for example, the purpose invoice, currently I'm having 2 addresses. The first line is primary. And here, let's say I want to define the default invoice address to be my invoice address 2 within New York State. So I'm going to select this one as default. Right? And then since I only have 1 delivery address, so it's going to be by default the only default address, right? So now I can click OK. So what the system is going to do, basically from priority perspective, the 2nd address, invoice address 2, is going to have the highest level, which is going to show up on your customer invoice business document. And only if you change the ski house primary one to default, then this address can show up on your printout documents. So I'm going to show you a sales order transaction so you can see the printout document with which address. But basically, what we expect to see on that sales order is delivery address. We're going to see this address. And then for my invoice, I expect to see this New York State invoice address too, because this one has been set up as default. All right, now let me duplicate this tab and we can run a quick transaction of sales order. So let me go to the accounts receivable, our sales orders, and then I'm going to create a new one. Okay, so from customer account, let's pick the ski house and I'm going to make it simple. All right, so first thing, let's see this address, delivery address type, right? And what has shown up is this our delivery address in California. Let's go back and check delivery address in CA state. We have that because we have set the purpose to delivery. So that's why the system auto-populates this delivery address. But if you have multiple delivery address, you have the possibility to select from this drop down and use other type of delivery addresses. Okay. And now let's continue. I'm going to select a site and warehouse and do OK. All right, so for now, I'm going to create a one sales order line just with a random item. The goal is to have this quick transaction to show you the printout. All right, so I have the price. And then now I'm going to confirm my sales order. So before I have to save it. And then confirm now. All right, now let's do pick and pack. I'll just go post the packing slip directly. I'm going to do OK, so it's going to post my packing slip. So normally, currently, I'm having two business documents already generated. One is my sales order confirmation. Second one is my packing slip. And now I'm going to generate the invoice. So we're going to see the report generated, all three reports generated at the end. So now let me complete the invoicing process. All right, so now we're done with the transaction. Let's check the report one by one. Under sale, I will be able to find my sales order confirmation under journals. And then in the preview print, I'm going to show the original preview. Let's just give a second. All right, so let's see. Ship to, clearly that should be my delivery address. So ship to address, that's going to be my California. We have already reviewed that one, so all good. And now I will go back and let's print the packing slip. So enter journals, packing slip, same place, original preview. Okay, so here things are interesting. So you can see the ship to delivery address that doesn't change. For my bill to, that's actually my invoice address, right? So what you see here is my invoice address to in New York State. That matches our default address we selected. And it's no longer that primary one because the default one has a higher level of priority, right? And then for my final report of my invoice, there is no doubt we want to see the bill to address. So at this point, the delivery address is no longer important. It should not show up on this report, but we'll just double check. Okay, so here on my invoice, you see the bill to address invoice is showing up as expected. So basically, that's everything I want to cover. In short, you have three types of addresses. You can use different purposes to define your addresses. And then for each type of purpose, you're able to assign a default address, and that default address has the highest level of priority, which is going to be used by the system for report printing. As to your delivery, if that's marked as delivery address, this address is going to be suggested as default value, but you can override. And feel free to play around and change the purpose, change the primary and default, and just to see which address is used on the business documents. All right, I hope this episode is useful. If you have any questions, comments, please feel free to share down below and let me know if you have other content you prefer to see more. Thank you everyone for watching. See you in the next episode.